Tonight on Sports Nightly, it's the Husker football position breakdowns.
McCaffrey motions, Hickman, snap back. Luke's going to keep it himself off the right side. He's in there. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Tonight,
the triangle formation of the near side. JD split out left. They look left. Back to throw is Adrian. He could step up and he's going to try to run for the pylon. He's to the 5. He lays out. He's in. That's a 2-point play for Nebraska. And they've tied this game in Champaign at 35 apiece.
quarterbacks coach Mario Verduzco.
And let's talk about these quarterbacks with Mario Verduzco. Your world is always an ever-changing world, and if we go back to at the end of last season, you've lost a couple young men who've decided to try to go elsewhere. I think that's kind of your world, isn't it, the quarterback, because only one of your guys plays at a time?
Yeah. There's only one ball.
Yeah.
So only one guy can take the snap. So sometimes those guys get a little antsy. And, Andrew took off. He's at SEMO. And then Noah went to Rutgers.
Well, we wish them the best, and I know you really enjoyed working with those two guys during their time at Nebraska. But I still think you probably feel really good about your room, I would guess. I mean, you've got 3 young guys that are on scholarship that all look like quality quarterbacks for you.
Yeah, it's a good room. I feel really good about our room. And then we have the 2 walk-ons aside from Adrian, Lucas, and Logan, and then Matthew and Braden are the 2 walk-on cats. No, I feel really good about the room. Great group of guys, very supportive of each other, just like we demand them to be. So it's good.
Let's start with Adrian. He's been your starter the last 2 years. Coach Frost made some comments about him the other day to some of the folks in the media, saying that, that maybe Adrian, last year it snuck up on him a little bit. He wasn't quite prepared week in and week out. How did you grade Adrian's sophomore season as your quarterback?
Oh, I don't know that I would say that Adrian was not prepared. I don't know if Coach Frost directly said that, but I think maybe he probably took things maybe a little too lightly, maybe sometimes, as it relates to practice when we started fall camp. I mean, he still worked hard, did all those sorts of things, but whether he had as much of a consequential attitude about things as he did his freshman year, I guess that would be up for debate. But every time I tested him, either before the season with the playbook test and or every game from a cognitive standpoint, he was ready to go. So I had no qualms about that piece of the puzzle at all.
We hear all the time sophomore slump. Adrian was brilliant at times as a freshman, and I thought he had some really good games last year. The Illinois game comes to mind as a game where he played really, really well for this team. Then he battled some injuries. You also had maybe, as Coach Frost has said, maybe not enough weapons on the offense to spread it around a little bit. How did he handle himself mentally through a season that wasn't as smooth for him, including a couple of injuries that kept him from playing a few games?
Well, I'll always say this about that particular comment you made at the beginning. A quarterback's only going to be as good as the guys around from a functional standpoint. There's no doubt about that. You can make the sort of goofy analogies of, put a junior college offensive line in front of Tom Brady, and how good is Tom Brady going to be? Put a junior college defense with Tom Brady, and how many games are they going to win? So all of those things that have to do with the quote-unquote quarterback's winning record and or his success are dependent upon the guys around him. Now, quarterback himself has to make certain he's doing his job and getting his work done, that sort of thing. With regards to his mental part of it, psychological part of it, I thought he handled himself extremely well. Particularly when you consider the amount of hype that surrounded him that he never asked for. He never asked for any of that. And so when things don't turn out exactly like you would like them to, some young guys can really get shattered by it. I don't, it's my opinion he did not. And he battled through it like a warrior. But he didn't ask for any of that hype. That has nothing to do with Adrian. It has nothing to do with his psychology. It has nothing to do with his ego. That was thrust upon him, unfortunately.
Let me ask you this. You probably haven't had this question before. How was he the weeks he couldn't play? How was he the weeks that he was hurt and wasn't going to play in the game? How was he in the room? How was his interaction with the other guys like Noah? How was he those weeks?
He was just like any of the other guys were with him. You know, always came in the room with a great attitude, had a great attitude at practice, very helpful, was trying to do as much as he possibly can to ensure that we could enjoy some success that particular week. So he was fine. Now, obviously, there's that, you know, you could always sense that little bit of disappointment in him that, you know, he wasn't able to play, but he was good.
Great. Again, we're talking with Mario Verduzco, Husker quarterbacks coach, our position breakdown here on the Husker Sports Network. Luke McCaffrey, we saw glimpses of him a year ago. We saw his athletic ability. How's that young man been to coach, and what kind of offseason has he had?
Luke is hell on wheels. He's doing well, man. He's always worked extremely hard, and a bright young guy, tremendous attitude. Just like all the guys in the room, there's not a downer amongst them. And Lucas is just a bright young cat who has a tremendous work ethic. And so he's done real well in the off season. Cleaned some things up with his stroke that we've been working on since he arrived. That's getting better and better and better. And so a little bit that we were able to work together those couple of days in the spring ball, I was pleased at his development with regards to at least his stroke.
He certainly comes with great football pedigree. I know you and I talked about that a year ago, what a great football family he has. I think we all got a glimpse of him, Coach. I think it was the Indiana game. Noah was the starter. Noah's helmet came off, and I barely described the fact that Noah's helmet was off, and I looked down there, and there's McCaffrey already getting the guys together to run the next play. He jetted out there like crazy. I think that kind of shows us all how much he loves the game.
Tremendous. Yeah, absolutely loves the game. And I don't know a quarterback worth his salt that doesn't love the game, you know, particularly because of the goofiness of the position that those cats play. But yeah, he was excited for any amount of time that he was able to get in, even when he played receiver. When Coach Frost asked him to do so, because, you know, we had sustained some guys that weren't able to play, either due to injury or one thing or another. And hell, he was ready to do it, and he was prepared to do it. He knew all the routes. He knew all the combinations. He knew all the blocking patterns and so on and so forth that was required of him. There are a few things that he wasn't really detailed in, but for the most part, he was good to go, as I would expect. And I told Coach Frost, hey, Coach, if you need any of these guys to play receiver, they'll be able to do it for you. So he was excited.
Well, the newbie in your room is Logan Sowards, young guy who came at semester to get indoctrinated into college football. What impressions has he left you in a brief time so far in Lincoln?
Logan Sowards from Muscle Shoals, man. Logan's awesome. I really enjoy him as much as I do all the other guys. And he's extremely athletic, fast, had some stroke issues we need to get taken care of. He's been working on those since when he arrived. And the couple of days of practice that we were able to have, I was really pleased with his progress in terms of getting that cleaned up. I gave him a couple preliminary playbook tests, and he tore those apart. So his work ethic is intact with regards to him doing the things that are necessary to at least give his teammates a chance to be successful by his play and making certain he does his job. So it's been good so far. I suspect there's not going to be any issues as we move forward.
Coach, he's a heck of an athlete, isn't he? I think he was made like the state finals in a couple of the sprints when he was a junior down in the state of Alabama. It seems like he must be a heck of an athlete.
He was a 10-7, 10-8 guy,
Woo.
right in that range as a junior. So I suspect he would have continued that if he would have stayed there and ran track his senior year. But, you know, he was a mid-year guy and was fired up to come. And, yeah, he's a heck of an athlete. He can freaking run now. I mean, he can run. He can get up and go. He was in a little bit of a, I won't say rehab mode, but he was recovering a little bit because of the game that he played in and got a little banged up. But he's doing great. Very excited about Logan Sowards.
Again, visiting with Mario Verduzco, Husker quarterbacks coach, our position breakdown here on Sports Nightly. Let's go to your second home, Kearney, Nebraska. You've enjoyed your time out, I think, in Kearney. You've got a couple of walk-ons from out there. Matt Masker's back for another year, and Braden Miller. Let's start with Matt. What do you like about Matt Masker?
Well, Matthew is he played at Kearney Catholic, and is just both those guys are just your typical tough-ass Nebraska, Midwest kind of guys. Both are really fine quarterbacks in their own right. Matthew's got a really good gun. He's strong. He's tough. He doesn't back down from anything. He's done a tremendous job of keeping himself prepared. As you know, probably the hardest position to play in all of sport is second-team quarterback. You know, it's a difficult situation in terms of keeping yourself mentally prepared from week to week, knowing you may not even get a chance to play and so on and so forth. But Matthew's handled all of that sort of psychological fire tremendously. And I don't have enough great things to say about Matthew Masker. Just a tremendous young guy and a good quarterback.
Well, across the town at Kearney High School, you found Braden Miller, 6'1" young man. What about Braden? What skills does he possess?
Braden, very similar to Matthew, maybe not quite as heavy, but kind of the same sort of build. Got a good gun, very bright, just cut from basically the same cloth. You know, tough-ass Nebraska kids, Midwest guys who just love playing football and just absolutely love being here at Nebraska. And so I know I feel very fortunate, as do the other quarterbacks in the room, that they're here. They take a lot of pride in what they do. If that means they're in charge of giving signals for a practice or whatever it might be, they're going to do their damnedest to make sure it's as perfect as can possibly be to facilitate our success. So, like I said, Braden's basically cut from the same cloth as Matthew is, and I don't have enough good things to say about either one of them.
Very good. Well, Coach, we always appreciate your insight into the guys that are in your room. Let's hope this we keep everybody healthy over the next 6-7 weeks, and we get to play some football in the fall. I know that's what everybody's keeping their fingers crossed for.
That'd be tremendous. And Greg, it's always great talking with you. Thanks so much for